All right.
And we're live.
We are live. Welcome, everybody. Say hi to the internet.
Hi, Internet.
Hello.
Hi, Internet.
All right. So today we're running something called Money Cage, and it's going to be our first event where we're live streaming this. We're joined by a very special guest, the founder of Recursive VC, Itamar. Itamar, do you want to give us a quick intro and hi over there?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here this morning. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching us as well. So I run Recursive Ventures, which is a pre-seed and seed stage fund, investing typically between $500,000 and $1 million in companies at inception. And I'm so excited today to be talking to all these founders out here and learning more about what they're building.
Yep. And Itamar, I think we initially met in 2016, and I have a little presentation I wanted to show to bring some memories back, and then I'll start to introduce all the founders as we go throughout the day. All right, so let me just turn off a few cameras because I got to organize this real quick. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. So, Itamar, you can correct me if I get anything wrong here, but you have a really, really cool, interesting background, and I hope everyone that's watching this and that sees this later in the recording understands like what a unique VC investor you are. So,
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you put your life savings into a company called Life 360, and Life 360 is literally a company to help keep families safe and to make the family life easier and to make the parents less worried about where their kids are, what's happening to them, like all those things Life 360 creates. You invest into Tile, which allows you to put that in your wallet, and then you actually, or maybe you weren't exactly part of this, but Life 360 acquired Tile and then brought Tile into Life 360. And now if you're a parent, you know where your kid is, you know when they go to a place they shouldn't, like all these amazing things. You built Life 360. I looked through the public financials yesterday. It's a public company. You helped take it public. I mean, you are killing it on margins, on profit, on everything. Like it was really an amazing thing to see. And then I think one of the more interesting things about you, even besides the entrepreneurship, is that you were doing cybercrime stuff in like 1996 with the IDF. That's pretty insane. So I guess like that would be a good story to just get real quick. So were you coding back then, and then you decided that you needed to join the IDF and help support, or like how did you get so involved in cybercrime in 1996?
Yeah, I was coding since I was, 11 or something, maybe even sooner than that. I don't know. And when I joined the IDF, I was this geeky kid who loved computers. And then I joined the military police investigation unit. They're like, oh, we're getting all those hacks and all those people kind of, doing nasty stuff with computer systems inside the IDF. Maybe you can help us set up a unit that's going to like do criminal investigations for computer crimes. And I was like, yeah, I can try to do that. And then I spent time with the FBI, spent time with the Israeli police, learn how to really bring those cases together. And, we caught some of the nastiest hackers out there. That was part of the IDF. But I guess if you'd ask me to give like a broader background, especially for founders, I would say probably what's interesting about me is that my entire career has been in startups, right? 25 years. And I've been on all sides of the table, right? I'm a founder and executive, kind of repeat. I've done it again and again. And I've also been investing for most of that time. So I've actually done 176 investments over the last 15 years, out of which 2 companies are now decacorns and a couple other are unicorns. So kind of being able to go through the startup journey all the way from the beginning till, IPO and beyond, wearing multiple hats.
176 investments, decacorns, unicorns. Oh my! I just updated your little tag in the bottom right corner. You do it all as a solo capitalist. Is that how you describe yourself?
That's right. I am a solo capitalist. Means that if you get only me, it's not a firm. We don't have Monday morning meetings. I mean, I have Monday mornings with myself sometimes. It's fun, but less entertaining potentially. And I think, me and folks like me, we're basically the best sort of, service provider. I see myself as providing service to founders at the get-go. at inception, like getting from 0 to 1. That's kind of where my expertise lies. And I think doing that, somebody like me who's walked in the founder's shoes, has raised money, has built a company, took it off the ground, working closely with founders, is sort of the best way to get off the ground.
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar to how Andreessen started their company and then started A16Z. They had such a good perspective on what it's like to be a founder. You're basically just saying, hey, this is what I wish I had when I was doing stuff. And actually, and this is probably the most famous thing that I talk about from our experiences. Make sure you can see this full screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was one of the deals you sent me. You did. I don't think this was one of your 176, but this was 2016. You introduced me to a guy named Nick Fott. Do you remember this?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that was when,
it's been 9 years, man.
What was that?
Loosely, it's been 9 years, but I remember I remember Nick.
And he ended up. That was when he was just leaving Microsoft with a team of 4. And I met him, and it was pretty obvious he was like a talented founder. And he ended up building that into Rec Room, which is a $1 billion company funded by Sequoia and some of the best. And so you really, really do see the best deals. And this was another fun thing I saw during our emails. I sent Amy at XAI was my assistant back in the day, and you actually responded to Amy. And if you now know what XAI has become since 2016, it's rock.
I know.
So my assistant in 2016 that you responded to was Grok. I can't believe that. So that's kind of the theme today, is that you really never know in venture. You need to be alert, observe people's startups, and you basically mine gold from like the nonchalant and the things that you don't expect to be successful. And so
true, man. So true. Yeah. You know how it works. You've how long have you been in Silicon Valley now?
This will be year 11, I think, or so.
There you go.
Yeah. So
you're an OG now.
What was that?
You're an OG now.
Not yet. Not like you. All right, so let's do one question I have for you that I did a little research on. You talked a lot about verticalized AI, and can you maybe give us your thoughts on, not thoughts, but what have you built in the last 6 months that is AI? And maybe it's not you directly building it, or maybe it is, maybe it's a portfolio company, but can you start there with why is verticalized AI arguably probably like one of the biggest opportunities, at least that I've ever seen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about myself and what I do at Recursive Ventures. Obviously, I've got a lot of really exciting portfolio companies who are building agentic AI verticalized stuff. But I'm just going to talk about myself and what I do at Recursive Ventures. So back in 2010 to 2012, I was a senior associate doing venture capital on Sand Hill Road, and at this firm called Morientar Ventures. And we'd be like associates running around, doing research, competitive analysis, all that fun stuff to help make investment decisions in Series A, Series B venture deals. Today, with AI, I basically have an AI associate, and I can 2-3x myself as a solo capitalist just with AI. And, I don't think I've cracked anything that other people don't know. I think a lot is like in the prompts, in the instructions, in the process, in how you really build it to kind of fine tune, fit it for what you need, for your use case. So for me specifically, every time I see a new company, it automatically goes into my CRM, where from there it kind of goes into Notion, and then all the information gets picked up, and then I send it to an agentic flow that does all this research stuff online that you would expect. It's like, what's the competitive landscape? How does this go to market compare to others? What's the size of the market? Is the TAM big enough for this thing to be venture backed? All those things, I let the AI research for me, put back in Notion, assemble questions on top of it for our next meeting with the company, so I'm well prepared. I review all that before the meeting. I add sort of my own flavor and my questions, and I'm ready to go. And funny enough, that's exactly what I would do as an associate, 50 firm. So I think, it's one use case, it's a niche use case, but it shows you A couple of things. First of all, obviously, we all know how capable AI is and how capable it's going to be. I mean, this is just the first inning. That's the first thing. The second thing is, unlike deterministic software, which only does bam, 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 X, Y, Z, whatever you program this thing to do, now in the world of agents, you're suddenly running this probabilistic system that can go anywhere, right? It runs loose and it does a lot of good stuff potentially. So you can dynamically adjust what this thing does for my use case. Basically, software with AI is now personalized. It's dynamic. And I think that's...
How are you building that? Are you using like make.com, Lindy AI to automate the first part of that with the research and filling out Notion?
Yeah, exactly. Zapier, although I'm increasingly using Zapier with MCP servers, which seems to be working nicely. Cool. It's still beta and all that. Yeah, and MCP, and that's pretty much it. Like, it's not, again, there's nothing magical there. It's already, all the building blocks are there. You just have to assemble them for your own needs.
So, I mean, bringing kind of this to the conversation today where we're going to have founders pitch, you know, I think one of the hardest things, like, as a founder right now, is that if you don't have AI, it's like, it's almost impossible to raise in a lot of ways. And I'd say 12 months ago, I disagree with that sentiment. Now, the fact that I'm using AI like 10 hours, literally 10 hours plus a day, every day, you know, it's like, there's no question that this is the future and you have to do this, or it's just not. So how do like, let's say you started a business 18 months ago, it wasn't AI, and now you realize, okay, if I'm going to do venture, I need to really like lean in on this. How should founders think about that pivot or that, you know, segment of their business being enabled by AI?
Well, it's crazy. One of the best advice I ever got when I started my career in tech, again, over 20 years ago, was whenever you see a new massive disruptive wave coming, you got to jump on it. You got to jump on it as quickly as possible. Even if you need to, you know, kind of adjust your career, downsize your paycheck, whatever it is, because you're only as relevant as, you know, kind of where you've been on the last wave. That's how it works with tech. And I think to some degree, the same thing applies to companies. Like if your company, and look, there's some companies which have nothing significant to do with AI. It doesn't really change their trajectory, and that's fine. Like actually, Life 360 is a good example of that. Life 360 is sort of, you know, the service is not really impacted by AI, but most companies are, and the founders that get ahead and jump right into the mix and rethink, re-architect their solution in the era of AI, they're going to be the ones that are going to survive. They're going to be the ones that eventually are going to win, because a lot of like being successful in startups is actually just surviving to fight another day until, you know, the market matures, product matures. You just have to keep going and go, you know, like that grit, right? That founders have, like, don't give up, because your vision, your North Star is true. So now with AI coming in, it's kind of, for a lot of my companies, honestly, it's either adjust and introduce AI, or like completely re-architect your thing with AI, or kind of die. And that's what I've been, you know, kind of very gently nudging a lot of my founders, because I don't tell my founders what to do. I'm not that style of investor, but I'm like, hey, if you don't like embrace this thing with AI, I don't think you're going to make it, right? And luckily, a lot of my companies, you know, are smart enough to listen and understand, and they're kind of adjusting their plans to really be an AI first company.
And to your point, even if you're not product first AI, if a VC says, how are you using AI to make your business better? You have to have a really strong answer around marketing or something clever. Like you have to be using it somewhere. It's the right aura of what tech founders need to do right now. It's funny. So I have a specific question, and you just kind of touched on it. I'll read it. But like this was something that I looked through your background. I felt like, you know, with Life 360, I don't know where you were with your like life situation, but I'm sure that was a huge risk, like family, wherever you're living, like you took a big risk, right? So my question here was, you know, is it, if the quote is take a risk when the opportunity presents itself, should you be looking for like the Warren Buffett mindset where you're waiting for your pitch and you don't swing at everything? Or is it more like the Stanley Druckenmiller philosophy where it's like, as soon as you see something you like you should start investing a little and then research it and then invest more? So I'd be curious to get your opinion. Like, how do you think about leaping on an opportunity and when not to and when to do it?
Yeah, I'm I'm conviction based. So I need to convince myself that this thing is going to be so big. And, it's startups. So we know it's always risky, right? But I think what we need in startups is to know, this is high risk and likely it's not going to work. But if it works, it's going to be massive, right? It's going to completely change the world and how we do things. And I think if you do enough work to kind of diligence whatever it is for yourself, and you get the conviction, then you should probably go all in, because that's the way it works. Like, that's probably the only way to be really successful in startups. So specifically for Life 360, what happened is I was a VC on Sand Hill Road. I saw Life 360 as a deal. I did all the diligence and ended up that my firm, and actually every other firm, kind of passed on it. But I saw within the diligence, I did a lot of work, and I was like, wow, there's something here. Like users want this thing. Forget about what VCs are saying. Users want this, right? And the VCs are not getting it. So for me, I had conviction at the time, and that's why I took all of my life savings and leaped into the company, buying a co-founder, going all in, and then spending 13 years in the company, taking it from seed to IPO.
So your fund passed at the seed stage. It was that early. Oh, so you took a full-on poker bet. That's insane at a seed stage to put all your money into it.
I actually borrowed money so I could really buy that guy out. I borrowed money.
From a bank, or was it from like an investor?
No, from friends and family. And my mother-in-law was in town. I was already married, no kids. My mother-in-law was in town, and she was like, "What are you doing with my daughter's money? Are you insane?" I was like, "Look, it's a crazy bet, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'll fall on my feet. I mean, I'm a VC in Silicon Valley. I'll find another job, and I'll make up what we've lost. But once in your life, you gotta swing. You gotta make this a big bet." And if you do it and you're successful, then obviously it's life changing.
We have 8 founders here today who are all taking a similar swing, and so I'm excited for them to come up here. But yeah, that's insane. By the way, I am probably about to do that in Bitcoin, but side note.
Hey, you might be right. But get that conviction going first. Like, make sure that you're yes.
And what's his name? Who's Microsoft CEO?
Satya.
Yeah, Satya. He goes, I was told be bold, but be right. I really like that. And to your point, you were bold and you were correct. All right.
I'd switch the order. Be right, and then go all in. Be bold.
Yeah, same thing. Burn the boats. Yeah, no, you clearly did that in your career. All right, so the way that we're going to do this is we have 8 founders that are waiting in the wings here. And so some of them have worked on a video, some of them have made a slide, some of them are just very prepared in their elevator pitch. They've been practicing, and it's kind of all ranges of really early pre-seed. It's not all AI, it's not all deep tech. Again, the overall thing is like, we all love founders. We're all founders. And so we're just trying to kind of help people move through the process of what's the smart next move for their business. Maybe that's sitting with you and getting $2 million. Maybe that's never talking to you again, but getting great advice to change their life. Maybe it's in between, it doesn't, who knows? Can't predict these things. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, since Tom is in the airport right now, I think we should probably give it to Tom so he can go back with his family and vacation. So Tom, I'm going to have you come up here. So Itamar, just to give you some context on Tom, I've known him for 2 years. His last business, he was the co-founder of. They raised 30 million, sold to Epic, somewhere around there. They scaled that to 100 plus employees. He's like one of the true founders that has stuck with me and helped me build this group for 18 months. And he has a very interesting company. So Tom, I assume you are unable to share your screen at the airport. So do you want to just do this pitch like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to just pitch. Itamar, apologies for not having the slide shareable. So I'm Tom. I'm co-founder and CEO of TribeXR. My previous company, Super Awesome, was acquired by Epic Games. Now it underpins the Fortnite child safety process. My current company, TribeXR, is making it easier for everyone to learn how to DJ and make music. We work very closely with Pioneer DJ. We started in VR with simulator equipment, so we give a user $50,000 of virtual DJ music production equipment for $10 a month. We just had an investment from Alpha Theta, which is Pioneer DJ. Their CEO is joining our board, and we are in the process of closing a 2.5 million round with 1.6 million done so far. We are introducing AI, so we have a virtual teacher that explains everything to you. You can follow along. We're introducing AI into that process, so taking all the data from the virtual equipment and the lessons that we've created and making this essentially a personalized learning process. And our big vision is that we want to improve the way that everyone can learn and perform music.
Thank you, Tom. And again, thanks for calling in from the airport. That's a first for us. Itamar. So Tom, very credible, has a really unique business, in music. So maybe we could understand, like, how do you, as a VC, when you first hear a deal, he's sitting in an airport, he pitched you like in an audio quality that's fairly low. Like, how do you as a VC think about this situation? What do you ask? Like, kind of take us into your brain so that we can understand behind the scenes.
So first of all, you're pitching the right person, because I used to be a professional DJ for 2 years and actually made money out of the business, playing in parties in Tel Aviv. Love DJing, obviously. And like, DJing has become this mega trend, essentially. Like, when I go, fly around, go on vacations, I see everybody wants to DJ these days, right? So this is awesome. But I guess if I was like quantifying all this, putting this into like the type of questions that I would ask as a VC, I'd be like, one, is the actual total addressable market big enough to create a venture-backed business? And by saying that, I don't mean just like, oh, number of people DJing times how much they would pay. It's like, this probably addresses only certain like ICPs within the community of people that want to DJ. Obviously, if you're a professional DJ, you don't care about this stuff. Even if like a semi-professional, you don't care. If you're an amateur, maybe you just buy, a Pioneer or whatever, one of the CDJs and like a simple one for $200, and just learn over the internet. So I think you really have to do a great job slicing and dicing bottoms up TAM here to get to a point where you can say, yes, this business is big enough, right? So that's one piece. The other piece obviously would be, this is a consumer business, and you kind of want to get to this nice kind of equilibrium of like 3x, 4x CAC to LTV. So I think with this type of business, investors are going to really early on in the process kind of push you to show them that the math works, right? That for every dollar the company invests in customer acquisition, whether it's influencers, social, ads, viral, whatever it is, right? You can actually get 3, 4, 5+ X on the money, and you can do it quickly, so you can recycle that money and put it back into the business, right? Back into customer acquisition. So that would be a second point that I think you have to prove pretty quickly, actually more quickly than most companies. That would be the second thing. The third thing is, I think, if there's a sort of a hardware or services component here, you talked a little bit about like sending them equipment, stuff like that. I think that makes it a little bit more difficult, because you really have to make sure you've got a good narrative around like COGS and sort of how it all adds up. And you talked about subscription, $10 a month, whatnot, kind of show that the whole math works at scale. And not only does works at scale, it also doesn't break once you go past your like immediate, customer base, right? Because there's maybe like this hardcore base of customers who would say, yeah, this is great, $10 a month, I'll pay, this all works out. But then when you try to scale out of that core, it gets dicey, right? So that's why the characteristic of this thing is that I think people will only, like investors are only going to invest in chunks. They'll invest only as much as needed to kind of prove the next sort of step up in the business. And it's going to be harder for them to come in and like, oh, wow, I should put 20 million bucks into this before you prove that you can really scale up all those different pieces, TAM, COGS, retention, CAC to LTV. You kind of have to, prove that every step of the way.
So just before Tom responds there, Itamar, first off, I've been working with Tom like on and off for a long time on fundraise stuff. And like he talked for about 45 seconds in an airport, and you just hit on like all of the points I think that we've heard, regurgitate. So it goes to show your gut feel for this stuff is very important. And I think, Tom comes from venture background, like he's very familiar with venture scale and things of that sort. And so I think like it's probably been an interesting experience for Tom to like go from, hey, this was like really pure XR, and now expanding this TAM bringing this to more of a venture scale. And I think your other really smart point that people should listen to is that, chunk investing to de-risk this. Like, everyone believes in Tom. Everyone's impressed by his numbers. Like, all those things checked out. It's just about what's the potential scale. And so that's basically Tom's mission. Tom, correct me if I got anything wrong there, but I thought that was really cool to listen to.
Yeah, that's spot on. And Itamar, that's really great feedback. Thank you. And we are actually trying to figure out the CAC LTV question. That's like our number one focus at the moment. And being creative with how we can leverage artists and partners and so on. So you mentioned about the different types of controller. So actually Alpha Theta is making us their sort of digital twin partner for every controller that they create. So you're going to be able to switch back and forward between the real thing and the virtual. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
And we'd love to try it out.
Love it. I'd love to learn more. And you sound like a wonderful founder who knows exactly what you're doing, and sounds like you're also passionate about this. So that's kind of exactly the background that we like seeing.
Awesome. Thank you. Right, Tom, we'll let you get back to your vacation. Where are you going? To Italy?
I'm going from Italy to London tonight. So, and then back to California after.
Thanks for calling in. Have fun. We appreciate it. Yeah. Bye, Tom. We love you. All right. Good stuff. Cool. That was awesome, Itamar. Yeah, it's funny how you just got to get everything right to like really hit that $20 million, everything right, All right, so I think this is an interesting next business I want to bring up, Christina. So Christina's background is pretty insane. The way she describes herself is the universe just keeps inviting this girl to the farm. And she was born in Lithuania, but she's now living in the United States. In between that time, she figured out how to go get her MBA from University of Michigan. She started her own law firm, ran that by herself for 10 years. Like always top 5 cum laude type person in the class, like a real overachiever. And then now that she's kind of like established herself in the US, it seems like she's diving into her passions of making farming a more sustainable and better thing. So it's not AI, I'm not sure if it's venture scale. It'd be really good to just kind of get your opinion, and worst case, we can help her out here. So Christina, I'm going to bring you up here, and I believe she also wants to share her screen. So let me.
Yeah. Hi, Itamar. I was going to say AI doesn't feed people, but the soil.
Yeah, and based on the introduction that Dodd did here, you're the unicorn that's going to feed all of us. That's
exactly.
Cool.
Christina, do you want to share your screen? Yeah, Christina, you're right. AI doesn't feed us, but
yeah, I did share my screen. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, actually,
I can't.
I got it. Wait, one second.
Yeah, and by the way,
I got it.
Oh, cool.
Okay, wait, let me frame this. All right.
This
awesome.
is cool. Well, imagine a future where farmers no longer choose between productivity, profitability, and sustainability, because now they don't have to. So I'm Christina Cat, as in meow, and we're going after the most entrenched and polluted markets in agriculture. So we have the 40+ billion NPK fertilizer market, and we have a 12+ billion home and garden market where Miracle-Gro has a major share. Now, Miracle-Gro NPK synthetic, they deplete the soil health, they pollute water sources, and farmers and growers and consumers are demanding high value, high performance organics, which is where we come in. Humusone is made from sapropel, which is a dead lake sediment, a very nutrient dense, carbon rich product. And so we are restoring soil fertility while increasing yields for the farmers. And in tests, Humusone has consistently increased yields by up to 40% while reducing the needs for the chemicals. Well, we're not selling fertilizer. We are selling the future of regenerative agriculture that's scalable, profitable, and proven. That's my pitch.
Man, that's so stressful. You clock like that, like, oh my god. Anyway.
Like I gotta get everything in there.
Yeah.
1 minute.
She's I've been working with everyone to get them going. All right, so Christina, thank you for doing that. So yeah, I mean, I think again, like really high qualifying person. She goes through and over delivers on everything in her life. She has like a 10-year track record of doing that. So when you hear this business as a traditional Silicon Valley VC, how do you think about it? Walk us through your brain, and then also maybe walk us through, like, if you were her, where would you go to find the right investor base? Would be great to understand too.
Yeah. So first of all, Christina, you're awesome. Love it. Like, love the presentation. Everything looks great. I don't feel this is a venture scale business. Okay. Right. So kind of jumping right into it and delivering what, from my perspective is at least not necessarily bad news. It's just like the reality of different businesses.
Oh, I know that.
Okay. So a couple of things that I kind of spotted along the way is, like, one, this is a $3 billion business. That $40 billion is like the entire fertilizer category. Right. We're talking about the first one. That is borderline venture scale. Already.
$3 billion is only Miracle Grow. So the $12 billion, Miracle Grow has the major market share.
But that's kind of more like the immediate business, that Miracle Grow, that you can figure out. So that's already venture scale borderline. That's the first thing. The second thing is, obviously you have to produce this thing. There's significant cost around, producing it, transporting it, storage, delivery. I don't know how long the thing lasts, maybe a year, maybe a month, maybe 3, but that means that there's, there's all this overhead, which typically leads to these type of businesses being sort of a lower margin business in the grand scheme of venture capital, right? Like venture capitalists like me who focus on software, we focus on companies and products where the sort of the terminal state of the business is that the incremental cost of servicing one more user trends to 0. So when the user 1001 shows up and you give them a piece of software that you already wrote, it's going to cost you very, very little, and you're going to maintain 70, 80, 90+% margin on that business. And that's why tech businesses become this mega cap. You've got the Magnificent Seven. We've got so most VCs focus on software businesses because of that margin profile. This business does not have that margin profile. With that said, there are investors out there that, are focused on ag tech, right? They know the space really well, and can help you more. And I think if you're looking for investors, I'd probably not spend too much time with sort of IT software VCs, because I don't think this thing is for them. But ag tech investors, family offices, build their wealth off agriculture and know the space. Corporates who invest, in the next set of technologies to help them, build their future lines of business. Angels who come from this space, those are probably your more immediate sources of capital compared to venture capital. So I think, just like
Itamar, are there venture capital ag tech funds that exist out there that you know of?
Yeah. Like, I'm going blank on names, but there's definitely some, and I'm sure there's databases of them.
I have some, actually. There are.
Yeah. I would hit them up. Like, this is right up their alley, I believe. I don't know what exactly they're looking for, because I've never done an ag tech deal in my life. But they're probably the primary suspect to fund something like this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the family offices who build the wealth, because they can give you venture size investments and they'll understand it, especially if they built their wealth within agriculture. And again, there you go, Christina.
And I don't want to go public, so that's also out of the question. Like, I don't want to incorporate. I want to stay small LLC, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's a good point. You should have raised that in the beginning, and that would have automatically kind of translated into, wow, this is probably not a good fit for VC. And guess what? It's amazing that it's not a fit for VC. Most companies should not be seeking or receiving venture capital money. And if you want to run the business as a smaller LLC, don't take VC money, because they're going to push you to do stuff that you don't want to do.
Exactly.
So it's your business. Own it. Do it the way that you want to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I feel like founders can make a lot more money, depending on the scenario, if you just own a lot of it and you're building it correctly, like she's been doing. So it's very cool. All right. If you're a family office watching this, or the recording, or on the newsletter, go hit her up and fund her. Okay.
Thank you.
Christina, thank you for coming. Adios. Thank you. Cool. All right. So the next one, Marvin, can you send me your video in the chat? we have a video, get your popcorn ready, Itamar. This is a really well done video. So this kid is 23, maybe he's 22, 23 now. I met him when he's like literally welding shit in his parents' bedroom. And he's built this giant mechanical hardware machine, did all the firmware, all the software himself, lives in Germany. If you know Palmer Luckey from Anduril, Marvin reminds me a lot of Palmer Luckey. It's a very crazy idea. And so he built a beautiful video using his stuff and also AI that I'm going to play for us right now. And then we'll bring Marvin up. Actually, I'll bring Marvin up first, and then I will. There's man.
Nice to meet you.
Hello. All right, so 1 minute. Let me get this.
That's quite an intro. I'm excited about this, Marvin. Let's go.
You should be.
You should be. Sounds like a real 23-year-old.
I'm 24 by now.
What? All right, you ready? Okay. All right, so if the audio is not working for some reason, please let me know.
That is an awesome video.
Beautiful. I love the part where he kicks it and then the fireman kicks the door in, the fire robot. Yeah, the humanoid fire robot.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Kick ass.
All right. So, so Itamar, he's building something that kind of started off in the gaming space, but clearly like there's opportunity in professional training and things like that. And so, how do you think of a crazy hardware idea like this from a 23-year-old who's shooting for the stars?
So first of all, in 1995, I worked as a VR instructor in this center in Israel that had very similar, rudimentary though, technology where you'd step into a machine that was circular actually.
When 1995?
90s, yeah, and you had basically joysticks, and it would pick up the joysticks, and if you would move, your entire body would move in the VR. It was a very basic, low resolution, kind of ugly VR machine, but it worked, and it had instantaneous response like what you're showing in your video. So this thing is actually not new, but I'm with you that this is next level, right? This is a whole different, like, it's probably less lag, more accurate, entire body capture versus just like your hands and legs, and probably you can do so much more with this, right? So I get that. I think the biggest potential issue with this as a business is actually exactly what you showed in the video. Like, there's all those use cases, and it becomes more of a science project that way. Because, like, what is the company you're building here? If the company was, we're going to do remote robotic surgery, as an example, and you build the whole machine so that a medical doctor can step into this thing, and, right, whatever, then I'd be like, okay, now we've married science with a use case and a business, right? But the way you're envisioning it now in the video, it's like this platform that can do all those different things. And I think that's not good. I think you need to pick. I think if you want to build a company, you have two choices. You either need to pick a lane, which is like, this is a machine that's amazing for X, one.
Yeah.
Or two is, this is a platform for developers that we're going to license, and they're going to develop their applications on top of it, which those are two very different businesses.
Yeah, so just two things on that. First of all, a great thing of this treadmill is that it's universally compatible with all existing VR applications, because what our software basically does, it turns the user's movements into a joystick signal. So all VR applications that use a joystick for movement, which are basically all of them, or almost all of them, are directly compatible out of the box. So
Marvin, I think you're reiterating his point, which I think is really important for you to hear what he's saying. And maybe I'm wrong here, Itamar, but like you're now talking about one of those 25 use cases, which is like VR games being ported over to the treadmill. Like that's what he's saying, is that you're answering for 10 different businesses. We agree this technology is amazing, but the tech is amazing. The use case is very unproven. So, and this, I know you're still doing this and you're doing great. So like, can you talk about maybe a specific pilot you have as a better way to answer that question for him?
Yeah, so in any case, I fully agree that there are so many use cases, you cannot run out and try to satisfy everybody. Like you need to put some focus. On the gaming side, the focus is pretty easy because there's not a lot of extra work needed. On the enterprise side, it's more difficult because for multiple customers, you might work on different versions of the product. Like, for example, one of our partners is the European Space Agency. They want to train astronauts with the treadmill on Earth and in space. And for them, we need to develop a custom version, a low gravity version, something like that. So that's like extra effort. So you cannot have an infinite amount of
that's where stuff breaks. That's where stuff breaks. When you start doing customizations and you're doing this for that, that's where stuff breaks, and you're pulling in all those different directions. My advice to you, pick a lane, the right lane, like figure out what's the right lane, and then go all into that lane. Whether it's gaming, so go all in on gaming. Make a consumer electronic product that's good for gaming. I'm not saying that's the best thing to do. I'm not saying that at all. I think that's actually a very tough proposition to go into mainstream consumer electronics. Like, unless you're Sony, that's like it's really hard to do, right? Or pick another lane. If it's astronaut training, whatever it is, figure out, find a way, find the heuristics that leads you from here's my technology to here's the best business that we can implement with this technology, and then go all in on that business.
Yeah, and it should be like a priority list, because you can expand in all these markets, but not all at once, right? So you need a priority list, which we do have, and based on that, you should enter the markets one by one.
Actually, let me
burn the boats, Itamar. Burn the boats, Marvin.
Let me push you a little bit on that even more. That fantasy of like, oh, you'll create one business and then another business, another business, another business. That doesn't work 99% of the time. The stuff that works is figuring out the right market and then scaling in it. And then maybe 10 years later, you have time to go to the next market. It's just the execution in each market to get from zero to product market fit and then to scale is just so freaking hard. It takes so much time and so many smart people to turn it into a real valuable business that once you find that first use case, my bet is you'll be in that use case for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I understand your point.
Marvin, we gotta move on. I love you, but Itamar, I think it's like funny. Some pitches are not venture enough. Some pitches are too venture, and like Marvin's is almost too venture, where now he needs to scale it back to like, where's the business side of this thing? So it's but Marvin, I'm cheering for you. I think it's awesome what you're doing, and like you will find that one thing if you keep doing what you're doing.
This is amazing. Can I get one?
Yeah.
You can get one now. You can get one now already.
Okay, send me the link. I'll have to check it out.
Marvin, go post the link so we can get an affiliate revenue for this new money cage thing.
Yeah, please give it.
All right, let's. Okay. Let me ask Itamar you one quick question here. So, the next person I want to bring up is on the precipice of AI and XR, lovable for 3D, lovable for 3D. I've kind of watched this company for 18 months in our community. They started pure XR. It's evolved. We don't need to get into all that, Chris. You can skip all that. But clearly, like they did what you said earlier. They saw AI. It's a real opportunity. It's right now. They have skill sets they can jump in on and leverage. And so I'm going to bring Chris up here because he's gone all in on this front, and it'll be great to have him pitch the business. Chris, I'll give you one minute here. I know it's your first time pitching on this format, and then we'll open up the floor so Itamar can help you or whatever makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to present this screen. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, but it's really small.
Don,
like if I'm supposed to see like the copy, like the text on it, then yeah.
Can you help me on that, Don? Is that a magnification on your side? Don, you want to just go?
We can't hear you, Don.
Chris, you got 20 seconds left. Just go for it. It's a low res image. I can't do anything about on my end, unfortunately.
Itamar, my name is Chris Keller. I'm a co-founder with MythGen AI. We turn text to games at the speed of thought. Like Don said, we're the lovable of games. We're focused on storytellers, D&D, Roblox, Minecraft. This is the application. Text prompt turns into a scene. You add objects, characters, one-click exports to web or exports to Unity or Unreal for fine-tuning. We have 3 tech advantages: an orchestration AI that controls all the assets, SDKs for developers, and a universal real-time 3D file format that's patent protected. When we get to 18,000 users, we're at 516K MRR, which is a 10x ROI, and we're using the tiered subscription, rate limited, top-up premium, and unlimited upper tiers for users. How's that?
Man, I used to be a really bad dungeon master, so this really so this resonates. I would use this thing. Very cool. I think there's a couple of questions here. The first one is, what is the market? Where is the market? Is this professional game developers? Probably not, right? They're probably using different sets of tools. Maybe you can help them create some assets, but how does this like integrate with whatever platforms they're using today to do XR? I don't know enough about that. I'm not a subject matter expert, but the underlying question is like, where is the market for that? What is the market for that? And I think part of the equation is not necessarily where the market for that is today, but where does it exist in this kind of blue ocean world that you guys are probably thinking about this future where almost everybody can be a game designer, right? Something like that. But I just don't know. I just don't understand that math, that plan well enough to be able to comment. But it's definitely something that I would be really, really worried about. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is, at least when it comes to 3D, the incumbents are so well entrenched, right? And I don't know how much this applies to game development, but classically, like 3D modeling in general, we've got, the Autodesks of the world and a bunch of, and it's actually really, really hard to get those entrenched people out of there in 3D because everybody's been trained on these tools. It's kind of, coming from uni, like all the way up. It's like, that's harder. So I don't know if that applies to you because you're more into games. So that's the second thing that comes to mind. The third thing is, same thing I would say to a Lovable or Cursor if they would pitch me that, which is like, what's the moat? What's the defendability, right? Like, and what inhibits an LLM from doing some of this directly in the future, right? And how do you keep, a big enough piece of the value capture here on your platform when more and more of it is eaten by LLMs, and there's like 50 competitors. Once you scale up, we're like all doing the same thing.
Great feedback. You want me to respond or just take that? Thank you.
No, yeah, please respond.
Trying to be polite here. I know it's tight as well. Yes, so we're going after the artists, designers, and the storytellers who are interested in this space but don't have technical skills. So it's quick AI to something. It's rapid prototyping for the indie devs. It's first creations for the people who were artists and always relied on somebody else. The universal real-time 3D file format is our beachhead as a tech moat. So it's patent protected. That's what we've worked on for the last 2.5 years. It gives us.
Chris, can I hop in there because I think this will be an important thing to everyone to understand. Itamar, as a seed stage VC, how do you think about patents? Like, is that valuable to you? Do you worry about?
Well, I'm gonna blow your audience's mind away. When somebody at the pre-seed or seed stage pitches me patents,
pass.
99% of the time, it's a negative signal.
Yep.
I know that sounds crazy, but it's true, and founders should hear this out. So, okay, so patents as a startup don't matter at all. Patents are used by big companies to either defend their turf or, try to block folks from entering their space. A startup can't use patent aggressively. If you sue as a startup some other company for patent infringement, you're toast. No VC would touch you because you're now involved in a legal fight, right? And the fact is that unless your patent totally prohibits people from doing the same thing, it doesn't really matter because 10 other companies will build the same thing without a patent or with other methods. And if they end up giving the kind of similar or same result as your patented thing, it doesn't really matter. And you just spend time and money filing for a patent that nobody cares about. So that's the reality 99% of the time.
Yeah, super valid. You're right. What it does indicate is some architectural thinking about how we make AI work really well. And we also realize it's speed, right? It's how quickly can we go from where we're at today to a meaningful mic drop moment when the person uses the product.
Let me ask you a different question that's more important than the patent. And it also touches on the moat piece. So the question goes like this. Let's assume you're now 1 year ahead of the competition. Done. Amazing. The question would be, why is it so that 5 years ahead of time, you'd still be 1 year ahead of the competition? 5 years from now, why would you be a year ahead of all the competition out there?
Great question.
Yeah, I think it's the core team. I think it's our movement into the go-to-market strategy. That's probably the quick answer.
Not good enough. Get a better answer.
Core teams is a good start though, but I think the GTM doesn't make sense because you're projecting out 5 years. By the way, Chris, I know this is intense, but like this is nothing compared to like when you go pitch 35 Sandhill VCs. Like I think Itamar is really helpful here because he's saying he believes that you have an incredible team that's gotten a year ahead. He's saying, I believe that. I 100% am down for that. Yeah. Suspend that disbelief. You did it. Awesome. You have a year to figure this out now. But in 5 years, it is quite clear that a ChatGPT will have this ability. I think we all can project that forward, right? Like there's not a huge leap that needs to happen. And so the question is, what is the moat? And that's a question that today, which again is not a bad thing, it's like an experiment, but we have not heard an answer that really answers that. And that's fine. And if you and I think just to wrap this up with one more bit of like the education part here, I do think VCs look at companies like this and say, this might be a really great acquisition, and they wouldn't invest, but like it makes so much sense that Unity buys you or someone buys you for your team and integrates this and you're their GPT layer across all of Unreal Engine or whatever, right? So there's different ways to look at this stuff. But yeah, I think Itamar's points are exactly what I was thinking, and I wanted to double down on the patents thing specifically because I agree that is a red flag I've heard from 25 VCs. If a founder mentions NDA or patent, done. That's it. Done.
Leave it off the table.
Leave it off the table. No one needs. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, or it's a side note somewhere in your deck that nobody cares about, but you led with it to some extent, and that's the red flag.
Whereas Chris, I think your team is so strong. Like Itamar, I wish he shared more about the team. It's an incredible team. And so like, that's what I would have led with is like, here's our team, business is going to change. We're going to change with it. It's working now, and kind of go from that starting point, I felt like. So very good job, Chris. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you.
Amazing. I'd love to learn more. Sounds really cool.
Thanks.
They'll all be cold messaging you after this, don't you worry.
Yeah.
All right, so we're running up on time here. We have 5 minutes. So I'm going to bring up everyone that's left that hasn't gone yet. Okay. All right, Jessica, I'm going to leave you off because you joined late. We'll chat after. I want to make sure we get through the people that were here early. Okay, so this is now going to be the Brady Bunch speed round, I guess. And so let's start with Christine in the bottom left corner, and we'll work our way around here. Actually, let's change this around. Itamar, how about you, without knowing anything, because you clearly have a good brain for this stuff, like maybe ask 1 or 2 really short questions that can help you determine what they're doing. Like, let's say you just met Christine at an event, you shook hands, nice to meet you, I'm Itamar. What does that look like at a networking event? How's that interaction go?
It'll be more like, hey, Christine, what are you working on?
Hi, Itamar. Great to meet you. And I'm working on creating Wii-type sports games in immersive tech, making sports accessible and fun.
Right.
And we're starting in basketball with a VR simulation that's movement-based with adaptive AI that allows all ages and abilities to compete.
Is there hardware in this thing?
No, software. Games.
Oh, it's 100% software. I can download it on my phone. It's a consumer thing, and I can start learning how to play basketball better.
Yeah, but it's mostly a game. So for the MetaQuest in VR, so our MVP is you defend against a trash talking avatar. And then I'm also going to assign male and female college players to be in it, NBA and WNBA players, and then go on for multiplayer, 1-on-1, 2-on-2. But we have the AI to do like real pick and roll strategies in basketball. So you learn the strategies of basketball as you're playing the game, and it allows tons of kids who don't make teams but always dream of like playing ball, a way to play. And also another use case.
All right. Let's get Itamar's thoughts.
I think this is a good point. I hear you. I don't know enough about gaming, but there's one thing that I know that's really, really important. You're gonna fly or die based on distribution. So how are you gonna get all those users? That is the most important thing that I've seen in gaming. Mm-hmm. And I've not seen the VR platforms just independently by themselves like massively distribute you, like the App Store, for example, has been doing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's early adopters out there for sure. But how do you get them? How do you get them excited? What's your customer acquisition cost? I think that's what's going to make this thing fly or, unfortunately fall off a cliff. That's my insight. So figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, Christine, I think, again, it just comes down to how can you figure out the VR crux and the distribution side of this. Which you're going slowly with. I think it's smart. And I think the other thing is like building that community or that distribution that you own is going to be so important. And so if you can get celebrities and people to like start helping you build a waiting list and a community in Discord or whatever it is, huge advantage for yourself. All right, John, you have to go to a pitch in 2 minutes. So can you do a 10-second intro and then we'll push it through with Itamar? Itamar, are you able to stay an extra 3 minutes or do you have a hard stop?
I can stay an extra 3 minutes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, John, power through. Go.
Itamar, nice to meet you. My name is John Garrity. I'm doing like you, and I went all in bet the farm, and I'm also spending my wife's money, so I know how much good fun that is and excitement. So, but I'm with PulseJet. We do AI-powered, fully immersive, totally indescribable music experiences. So that's immersive music videos and concerts and headsets. Easiest way to describe what we do is like the Sphere for home. So we take the Sphere model, we've taken their business model, and they spent $2.4 billion on a facility. We didn't do that. And they spent $50 million on a piece of content, by the way. We only spend $1 million on a piece of content and then get it out to 25 million users. So it's a much more scalable model. You mentioned TAM quite a bit, and you're also using AI. So I just pumped into ChatGPT what the TAM is, and it's $40 to $60 billion a year. So it's a pretty big sizable market. I worked for Apple for 10 years on the Vision Pro, among other things. And my team, I think, has really cracked the code for music and XR. And we're raising a $2.5 million round. Love if you could be a part of it.
And I'll just add one thing. Their first major celebrity signing is Bjork. And she has already signed a year ago and is done almost with the full production set and ready to go.
Amazing. Yep. The issue VCs are going to have with this business is that this is an entertainment media business. It's a content business. And the thing with content businesses is that traditionally, what we talked about with the other star, the terminal margins of the business are so heavily weighted down by the cost of content creation. You said $1 million. Maybe that works. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's more. That's one. Yep. And the cost of distribution is the second biggest component here, or like a big component here, maybe the biggest. And between those two, and sort of how hit-driven the business sometimes is, and I get the fact that because you're working with established musicians already, they're already a hit, and you're just sort of extending the experiences that a fan can have with that, with that musician. It's a little bit easier to hit, right, than if you're just creating new content out of nothing. So I get that, but still the combination of these things actually, I believe, makes this business one that's not a good fit for most VCs.
So this is where the AI powered aspect comes into play, is we can scale our content. And you're absolutely right. You know, a year ago, we would have spent $1 million on every piece of content. Now we've cracked the code on AI 360 video before anyone else. And we believe that's going to give us the ability to scale like crazy. And so where it used to take a month or several months to put together one video, now it's like we can do it in a day and just scale the hell out of it. So I think it's a great scalable model. We'll see where we go.
Very cool. Yeah. Sounds like a really fun project.
Fun.
Go handle your VC pitch, John. See you later.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so we're at time. Itamar, Ken, and Andrew haven't gone yet, but I don't want to keep you over. And also, I feel like you've given us so much. There's enough for us to learn from today. So instead of hearing their last two pitches, are you okay if I get their deck, send it to you an email, and then they feel like it was worth it? And then what we'd like to get from you, I guess, is just a closing statement. I asked this to every guest we've had. 70 guests have given me an answer to this over the last 18 months. What is your number one bit of advice that you can give to us founders?
I think, and specifically in like with the companies we've seen here, I would say not every business is venture scale and should be venture backed. Go figure out, do the math of whether this thing should actually be a venture backed business. And if it is, go all in. Go build a network with VCs, advisors, angel investors, and go raise money in the back of that with the understanding that you're building a venture-backed business. But if it's not, don't force your business to become a venture-backed business, because what happens is if it shouldn't be, and you bring on the VCs, they're probably going to really ruin your business, and it could be a bad outcome for you and for everybody who's involved. And you could have avoided the whole thing just by, bootstrapping the business or seed-strapping the business or raising money from, subject matter experts, people in the industry, corporates, and that might be a much better fit for what you do. So that, that's kind of the bottom line for me on this one, is like, not everything should be venture-backed. Actually, most things shouldn't be venture-backed. And it's on the founder to kind of understand whether they should or shouldn't raise VC money.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point, and venture is a very specific type of category, and it's a very specific type of effort. So thank you for coming today. I hope everyone learned something and thinks differently. That's the point of these, is to leave thinking differently. Andrew and Ken, I'll forward your deck. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Itamar, we appreciate this very much. Let's give you a nice round of applause.
Thank you.
I'd love to do this again. This was awesome, and thank you for hosting, Don. That was amazing.
Yeah, this is super cool. I've never done this before. All right, we got it. That's cool. All right, adios, everybody. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank you.
Can we take a quick photo?
Thanks.
Wait,
Nice
3,
to meet you all.
2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. Photo. Okay.